Before we get into today's video, did you guys know I have playlists on my channel? Oh yeah, I got a bunch of different playlists ranging from seasons to tutorials to special projects I've been doing. So if you're ever bored or you just want some background noise on while you do the dishes or you're reading a book or something, go ahead, hit those playlists and have yourself a watch. Hello and welcome back to my garden. Today we are on my back deck. Because, well, I said I was going to be planting a lot of things here on my deck, and I was going to talk about that in the future, and that was back then. This is now. So I thought I'd give you guys a little tour of my back deck, what I'm growing on my back deck, and why I'm growing what I'm growing on my back deck. So with all that being said, let's start over there. Before I get into talking about all the different plants that are here around the back deck, one of the reasons I wanted to garden back here on my back deck, even though I have about 2 acres of property, was because I come out of my back door every day and I see this, and it's just an empty space. So I wanted to start bringing more colorful plants up here and things that would just make this space seem a little nicer, a little more inviting to even sit out into in the early mornings or late evenings after the sun goes down past those trees, because it's awfully hot back here during the daytime. So that was one of the reasons. I just wanted to bring some more life to it. The other reason being is because I have fire ants here on the property and I have deer, 2 of my nemesises. So the fire ants will eat things like my potatoes. So I can't plant potatoes in the ground. Fire ants decimate them. I've tried them in the ground. I've tried on raised beds. Fire ants just get to them, destroy the crop. So I've been growing the last few years in grow bags, but instead of doing the grow bags out in the vegetable garden as I've done the last couple of years, this year I'm doing them up here on the back deck. So they'll be out here surrounded with all the flowers and everything else that's going on back here, and I think it'll just make this area look a whole lot more lush. Right here, I have moonlight nasturtium. I can't barely say that word. It's a trailing nasturtium, so theoretically, it'll grow over the sides of this plastic. I don't like it, but it's a container I had, so I'm using it, and hopefully once the nasturtium grow to full size and all, it'll cover up the plastic container. Down below, I have 2 Maverick Coral geraniums. I grew both these geraniums. I bought a packet of 10 seeds, and then 5 survived, and I have 1 planted in the ground, these 2 here, and 2 more I have to pot up. So I had 5 survive out of a packet of 10. That was exciting. So first time growing geraniums, and I was pretty sure I was going to have less success with them, but they seem like a fairly hardy plant so far. They've survived me. So that's a plus. I'll up-pot the other 2 later in the week probably and put them someplace up here on the back deck. Right here, I have a autumn fire sedum. And then over here, I have one of my first bag of potatoes. This is German butterball. I mentioned a second ago, I'm growing my potatoes in grow bags. And the system seems to have worked out pretty well. As these potatoes grow, I'll just keep adding more potting soil to the bags themselves. And I think I harvest around July or so for most of these potatoes. I think, maybe August. We'll wait and see. Right, next to that, I have a mixed dahlia. I have no idea what this style is going to be, if it's going to be a ball, a cactus, whatever, open face, but there's one right there. Should get about to a yay high, which would be pretty nice. Next to that, another potato. Right here is a plant I think I've killed. It's Mandeville. It's a bit of a shrub. I had it in the vegetable garden last year, overwintered it in the greenhouse. I thought I saw it putting on some new growth, but that new growth has since disappeared. So it's possible that this plant has died. Not the end of the world. I get to reuse the pot for something else. Then we have several more bags of potatoes. In the corner over here, clary sage. I've grown clary sage here in the garden before, but it's never ever done anything other than leafed. I've never gotten a flower out of it. So this year I made up a special super free draining, very little compost or very little potting soil mix, as it were. There's a lot of vermiculite, a lot of perlite in the mixture. And I planted 4 plants up, so they should kind of overcrowd each other theoretically. And I think that'll stress the plants, or my hope is, my plan is that that might stress the plants enough that they do all throw up flower spikes. Maybe, I don't know. In the corner here, I have pampas grass. Now this will get to about 12 to 15 feet tall if left in the ground over time. I don't intend on that actually happening. Hopefully this year it'll get above the railing And then probably in another year or two, I'll have to take it off of the deck and plant it out someplace. A few more potatoes behind me here. And then right here, I have my blueberry bush. This is a dwarf blueberry bush, and yes, it is uncovered right now. So the birds and my wife can both compete for the blueberries. This is a gift from a neighbor across the street, and it's doing pretty well. Behind me here, I have a few more bags of potatoes, as you can see. And here I have a Mexican cigar plant. I purchased it last year from a plant sale late in the year. I think it was in the fall, October. And it was on the back deck, and then before the frost I put it in the greenhouse. It was flowering, it was nice, but of course the cold knocks it back. So I pruned it down to basically the ground, or the bottom of the pot here, and it started throwing up new shoots. So here we are, it's here. If it does continue to grow and throw on flowers, the hummingbirds around here will love it. Another bag of potatoes. Right here I have a pineapple sage. I tried growing one in the ground last year. It actually was growing. It was thriving. Cut it back for the winter, and I haven't seen any new growth come up yet, but it may just take a little while longer before the ground heats up and pushes up new growth. If it doesn't push up new growth, if it is actually dead in the ground, I have this one. So as you can see, it's flowering. Everything looks good on it right now. Hopefully it continues to thrive. Hummingbird feeder. Right here I have a spoon tomato plant, and it's looking good so far. I see some flowers on it. Spoon tomatoes are very, very small cherry tomatoes. Over in the vegetable garden in a raised bed, I also have some spoon tomatoes. If you guys watched that video, you may have seen that. But I thought it'd be fun just to have one up here so we could walk right out the door, grab a couple of tomatoes if you want a snack or something, and have that. Up here on the railing, I have two more sedums. These are autumn fire. They should get to about yay tall. If need be, I can always move the pots around. And this is one of the huge benefits of growing things in grow bags or pots, is that if you find a plant is getting too much sun, you can move it to a shadier spot. You can move it around. If you think that the plant if this plant starts getting this tall, it might be too big for the railing, at which point I can just pick it up, put it down on the ground. Or if the plants die, I can just empty out the pot and start anew with something else. Down in this pot right here is a David Austin dahlia. Now the David Austin dahlia should get to about yay tall, which will be nice. It'll get some good height. Did I say David Austin? It's David Howard. This David Howard dahlia will put on an orange flower, and it is one of my 2 or 3 David Howard dahlias that I had last year. I divided them, so this is coming off of one of those divisions, so it's very small. I don't know what height it'll reach this year, but being in this location with some sun, and of course getting plenty of water, as I water all my plants in the morning, or most of my plants in the morning, this should hopefully do well. If I find it suffering a little too much, then maybe I'll move it to the shadier side of the deck or find another location for it. Right over here, I have 3 watercolor dahlias. They're doing tremendously well, and hopefully they also get to probably about yay high right here. I don't think that they get that tall. I think they're about 2 foot tall. I could be wrong, but right over here, I have several pots on a homemade pallet table. On it, I have a couple more sedums. I have my aloe plant, which isn't looking great, but I think it's starting to bounce back a little bit. I had this out here when we had some 40-degree nights, and it didn't seem to like that at all. But now that the weather's getting warmer, it's enjoying it. Right down here is my Earth Angel Rose. Now, if you guys remember, if you've watched the video, if you didn't watch the video, go back, watch the video. But this Earth Angel Rose, I almost killed because I can't remember what caused the root rot. I don't know if it was a clog. I think it might have been because the drain hole was clogged or didn't have enough drain holes in the pot, something along those lines. But basically, the roots got too wet. It got root rot. It was bad. I almost lost the plant. So I did some emergency surgery on it, as it were. I did a lot of cutting back and repotted it, as you can see here, and got some lovely roses here. Hopefully, it continues to flower. I do have to get in here and do some deadheading already because one of the flowers on the back side over here are losing their petals. So I'll get in there and do some deadheading, and hopefully it continues to grow. Right here in this pot, I'm going to do something special. Not special, unique, different. I've done this before, kind of. So I just planted up some moonflower seeds this morning. So my plan is I have to build a little trellis, but I'm going to have a little trellis right here for this corner. And hopefully I can get the moonflower to go right up this trellis, which would be pretty fun and exciting, I think. So we'll have the white flowers I'll see in the evening when I look out the back door. It'll be nice. I do believe they have a very pleasant odor at night, I think. If I'm wrong or mistaken, again, feel free to leave those comments below. Let me show you what's going on over here. One of my nemesises here in the garden is an insect called the stink bug. And what this horrible, there's also another one called the leaf-legged bug. But either way, these two little rotten insects go, and they always, it seems to be only on my full-size tomatoes, but they'll go and they'll puncture the skin, trying to suck out some of the juices and the saps on tomatoes. And then that damages the fruit. And then those spots where they puncture winds up rotting very quickly. And before you know it, you've lost the entire fruit. It's terrible. So this year, I'm going to make an attempt, and I don't know how well this is going to work, but we're going to try it, to grow my tomatoes here in this bag. This is a butterfly cage. It's 3 foot high. I got it off of Amazon. Looks like I've got probably about 2.5 feet maybe, or 2 feet of growth height. Now what I planted in here was a mortgage lifter tomato. So mortgage lifter tomatoes can get like 5 to 6 feet tall. So I don't know how well this is going to work, this experiment, but the other thing I have in here is parsley, and this morning inside in the grow bag, I planted some basil seeds. Parsley and basil, apparently companion plants to tomatoes, so that's a good thing. Once it looks like the plant is putting on fruit, the theory is that I'm going to zip this closed. I have to leave it open to let the pollinators into the flowers and such, but once that happens, I'm going to zip it closed, and then the swallowtail butterflies should not be able to get to the parsley and eat them to the ground, and the stink bugs should theoretically not be able to get to the fruit and destroy the fruit. So this is my experiment. This is something I'm trying. If this does succeed, if this does work, what I may wind up doing for next year is setting up a, let's say, 6 foot tall screened in contraption house thing of some sort, maybe a 4x4 room or something like that, just made it with this like insect netting, as it were, and then grow my tomatoes in that. I can grow my tomatoes down here in eastern North Carolina. Like I said, it's just those insects, and I've tried a bunch of non-chemical things. I've tried insecticidal soap, I've tried neem oil, I've tried a couple other things organically to try to keep the pests off of my tomatoes, but it has never really seemed to work for me. So I'm going to go with this year, give this a whirl. Right over here, I have some plant shelving that I built earlier this year. I did a video on that as well. If you guys want to go back, watch that. In the corner, we have a petunia that survived over the winter, surprisingly. My wife had these containers of petunias, you guys might have remembered, on the front stoop. They looked really nice. But at the end of the year, we just sort of left them in the containers, and they looked like they were struggling throughout some of the winter. By the springtime, out of 6 containers, I think only 1 had new growth reemerge. I didn't even know it could reemerge. I mean, we're talking freezing nights, 6 inches of snow on top of the container. I think there was an ice storm in there someplace, and somehow that one petunia survived. I don't know. Nature's amazing sometimes. So we potted it up, brought it up here on the back deck so we could enjoy that view right there. Next to it here, I have a small Batoni, and then I have English lavender. I have a couple more sedums. I think there are 2 different varieties. I don't know what the darker one is. Right here is an Aztec lily. It was something I picked up at a plant show recently. I mentioned it to you guys, I think, in a video. Just looks like a couple of leaves, but those couple of leaves are still alive, so the plant is still alive, which is the good news. So if and when it does do a flowering of some sort, I'll be sure to show you guys either on Instagram or here on YouTube or both places. So be sure to keep an eye out for that. Down here, I have a spearmint. Now, I had the spearmint in the same container as I had as I just planted the moonflower, but I had never in 4 years repotted the plant. If I left it in the pot, it was going to continue to grow. In fact, it was growing. There was a lot of root rot on the plant. There was a lot of damage with the plant, but the plant was just coming back for more. So I thought, let me take out these broken pieces of spearmint that are still alive, and I'm going to repot them, and I'll put them in a new pot. And we will see what happens there. So far, they look alive. They're down there. Over here, I have 3 hellebores. These hellebores I usually bring up on the back deck during the winter time because I get to enjoy their flowers. These were all repotted, I think, last fall. They're not suffering, but they're not doing great. So, and maybe because of the repotting. So I think a couple of these are going to get planted out in the garden this year, and the others will go underneath the deck here for the summertime, so they don't get destroyed by that intense summer heat that we get, the heat and the sunlight. One plant that should enjoy the heat and the sunlight is this right here, which is a Hot Lips Salvia. And this one I had in the pot last year. It survived the winter in the greenhouse. I don't think I did any cutbacks on it, and it's coming up again, and it's looking good. So hopefully in the next upcoming 2 to 3 to 4 weeks, however long it feels it needs to take, it will put on new flowers. The other thing I'm going to do probably soon before it starts flowering is take some cuttings off of it so I can maybe have some more Hot Lips Salvia plants either back here on the back deck or elsewhere in the garden. Right over here, I have one of the 2 pots. The other pot is off camera there that my wife made recently, filled with begonias. I believe the whitish plant here is called Angel Wings, and I'm not sure what the looks like a vine, some sort of vining plant is, but if you guys know, leave those comments below. But she did these 2 pots, so again, you could see something bright, beautiful coming and going in and out of the house. And she really likes begonias right now. I've never grown begonias. That's probably another plant that I should put on my to-do list, but I am enjoying the colorful flowers that they're putting on right now. Back over here, we have a rail basket. This one has got some, I can't remember the name of it, but also 2 more. I want to say this is like diamond something or other. Can't remember the name of it again. But 2 more begonias, and so far so good. They're alive. Everything's thriving. A couple more hellebores. These hellebores will probably, again, go underneath the deck soon because it's starting to get very warm here in eastern North Carolina, and they can take the warmth. It's that intense sun that will just burn the leaves to a crisp. So they need more shade when it comes to late spring, early summer. So one more thing I want to show you guys. I mentioned earlier in this video having the back deck look more colorful, more lush, with things to look at, whether it's going to be the foliage of the potato plants or the flowers of the dahlias and the rose. But the approach to the back deck is also important. And right down here, I've done something I've never done before, which is basically just have a collection of potted plants here. What we have right here, this tall growth right here, is bleeding heart. Unfortunately, you guys have missed the flowers. They've flowered, and it was very lovely for the few weeks that the flowers were around. The top growth here will probably die back in the next month or so, but once that happens, hopefully, in the rest of these pots, I have agapanthus. And hopefully by then, in the next month or 2, the agapanthus may start to flower. I have a variety of different agapanthus here from a couple that I had here in the garden that I wound up dividing. The agapanthus are coming up. They're all looking good so far, and hopefully, cross my fingers and toes, they all put on flowers in the next couple of months, which would be pretty exciting. In the midst of all this is a agapanthus that I've never had before, that I've always wanted since I started growing agapanthus, was Agapanthus africanus. They were like the original agapanthus from South Africa, not a hybrid or anything like that. So it has lovely purple flowers, and I think there's some other varieties in here which have white flowers or blue flowers, but I'm hoping that all these wind up flowering this year, which would be very nice. I do believe it's in shot right down there. I have a fuchsia. Never grown fuchsia before. It was on my list of things to do. I found a little plant at my local nursery. It was $6.99. I said, how can I pass this up? Try to grow fuchsia. And so far, so good. It is like a bushy, small dwarf bushy variety. I know some are trailing and some are big, and there's different varieties, but this is a small variety, and I figured, again, why not give it a whirl? And so far, I'm really enjoying it. I enjoy the weird quirkiness of the flowers and the before they open up into a flower, how they're like little balls. It's pretty fun. And right over here, acting as almost a nursery area, are some of my hosta divisions. And so far, they're all looking pretty good. I don't know if these hostas will stay here forever or what'll happen to them, but this is a nice shady spot for them right here. As you can see, we're in the shade right now, and all my hostas are doing well. So as you can see, I'm growing a variety of plants here on my deck. You don't need 2 acres or suburban backyard to grow plants. As you can see, you could do a lot in grow bags, in plastic containers, terracotta, pots, whatever, and you can grow quite a bit in a small space. I've seen on other YouTube channels, people have very nice looking gardens, or miniature gardens, let's call them, on their balconies. And they just have wonderful displays of herbs and vegetables and flowers. This is just what I've done here on my back deck, and this will probably change and evolve as the season continues. Again, if I find a plant that's suffering too much, maybe because of too much sunlight back here, or something else going wrong with it, then things will get moved around. And I think I've said it enough times, it's the beauty of having things in containers. It's much easier to make those changes versus things that are planted in the ground. And don't get me wrong, I'm still going to keep my flower garden. I still have my front of house beds. The orchard cannot be replaced, nor the rose garden with this, but this now is a much different space than it was last year when it was very barren with only a couple of plants back here. So if you guys haven't subscribed, please subscribe, click that bell icon to be notified when I do post a new video, and this week you can follow along, see what I'm doing next. There is a ton of stuff that I need to get going this week out in the vegetable garden, out in the flower garden. So again, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. And with all that being said, I'm going to catch you guys on the next one. Bye-bye.